Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Last Wrestling Podcast, because if I have a wrestling podcast, everybody else in the world does too, and the concept is officially dead. Today we're taking a look at a wrestling pay-per-view. It's All Elite Wrestling AEW Revolution from Chicago, Illinois, and of course we're going to be starting off with the buy-in, the pre-show, and it's called a buy-in because Chicago is very well known for its gambling industry, which is totally a thing. Chicago is... oh, Christ. The show starts off with Taz and Excalibur running down the card. We find out we do have at least one match on the buy-in itself, and that is the Dark Order, formerly known as the Super Smash Brothers, versus SCU. Christopher Daniels, the target of the Dark Order's recruitment efforts as of late, notwithstanding. Now, this is the buy-in. I do not expect the Exalted One, the mysterious, faceless leader of the Dark Order, to be revealed on a buy-in, because, duh. Though this could be a way to get the Dark Order on the show and then have everybody forget about them for 3 hours and have them show up at the end and do something with the debut of the Exalted, hopefully Matthew Hardy. Is that what they're going to do? I don't know, but we'll find out. We get a backstage promo, Tony Schiavone interviewing SCU, and Christopher Daniels gives a Shouty McShouty Man promo about how he's going to lead SCU to victory over the Dark Order and their lies and half-truths and whatever. And then the two human-talking individuals point out that, actually, we kind of like you to stay back here because, well, it's for your own safety. Which actually makes a great deal of sense in one way, because the Dark Order has been attacking Christopher Daniels and going after Christopher Daniels for months now, as Daniels himself just pointed out. On the other hand, you just leave him in the back defenseless. What the hell is wrong with you? Is it possible that Daniels himself is the Exalted One and this has all been a needlessly elaborate ruse? God, I hope not. We then cut to ringside as it's time for our buy-in match. Hopefully our only buy-in match. Quick note on the set as we take a look at the Dark Order's entrance. It doesn't look that different from the regular AEW Dynamite set, which is unfortunate because I thought that custom pay-per-view sets was going to be something that this group did. And guess not. Although it does look like, and I think we get a better view in the SCU version. Is this the first time AEW has used the LED entrance ramp, the floorboards there? Because I don't remember that, but then again, that's something I would probably miss. Anyway, the actual tag team match was pretty much a non-entity. It was exactly what you would expect. Pretty by-the-numbers tag team. A few slightly he didn't get all of it situations, especially with Evil Uno, which, I'm sorry to say, I'm a big fan of Evil Uno and the Super Smash Brothers. I loved them back in the old Chikara days, but this was not good. In the end, the bad guys win. And as you might expect, there is the inevitable multi-man beatdown on SCU, when all of a sudden, boom, boom, Cabana, Colt, boom, boom, Cabana, echoes throughout the arena, and the local hero, Colt Cabana, shows up. And two things here. One, why did the Dark Order react with surprise at this? Because his entire entrance music is just his name over and over again. Well, his name and his nickname. So anyway, Colt Cabana comes out, he tries to save the day, fight off the Dark Order, be the hero, and gets his ass kicked too, in a completely anticlimactic waste of a cameo. Seriously, unless you've signed Cabana, and if you have, this was a shit way to introduce him, because in a classic AEW case of overbooking this, we needed a second distraction from the beatdown. Oh my god. Well, anyway, a cloaked figure appears on the ramp, and this time, it actually makes sense for the Dark Order to be distracted by this, because, presumably, at least Evil Uno... Actually, no, we know that Evil Uno knows what the Exalted One looks like, because he's seen him. We've seen video of Evil Uno reporting directly to the Exalted One on affairs of the Dark Order, so if, presumably, Evil Uno knows that the Exalted One may be coming soon, but he ain't here yet, that this guy showing up, that would be an actual surprise and an actual distraction to the Dark Order. But of course, it's the pre-show, as I mentioned earlier, they're not going to reveal the Exalted One at this point. It is, of course, Christopher Daniels. And now we get the big dramatic thing. Is Christopher Daniels on the side of the Dark Order? Has he been the Exalted One the whole time? As obscenely stupid as that would be, have they actually gone full Russo on this sucker? He runs toward the ring like a man possessed, and of course, attacks the Dark Order because of course he's not the Exalted One. Well, that was mostly a waste of time. But it does give us a little tidbit that the Dark Order are still undefeated in the year 2020, which if you're trying to rehab a team, that's a good stat to A, maintain, and B, keep mentioning. Not much else on the pre-show. We get a backstage interview with team not appearing on this show, saying that they will actually be appearing on this show because they're going to be in Cody's corner in the match with MJF to make sure it is a fair contest. And I love that Luchasaurus decides to point out that it's good that there's finally some dinosaur representation on pay-per-view. I don't know if that's funny or stupid, and I love that I don't know that. We get a few video packages, including a plug for the Young Bucks' new book, which I won't be buying. Final video package for the pay-per-view. Boomer Sooner hits. Out comes good old JR Jim Ross to get some names wrong. Apparently, somebody named Swagger is going to be wrestling Dustin Rhodes tonight. Don't know who that's going to be. He's scheduled to face Jake Hager, but whatever. When you're the best ever, you get to make multiple mistakes an episode. Oh my God. Let's get to the main show. Well, first up is that match between Dustin Rhodes and Jake Hager after the opening video package where we are welcome to an alternate reality. I love that. And the Star Spangled Banner being sung by some woman I've never heard of. We are actually going to get Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager as our opening contest of the evening. Dustin comes out accompanied by a man who disappears immediately. Hager comes out, walks to ringside, and then makes out with a woman that we're told is his wife. Is she his wife? I don't know, but I'm going to assume so for the sake of storyline. Then the hero in our match shows this t-shirt, which immediately becomes a chant. And I don't care about this match at effing all. Because several minutes into the match, Hager in a... Is it Hager or Hager? I think it's Hager. Hager in a... admittedly sort of a tortoise in the hare moment of ego, stops paying attention to Dustin and goes to talk to his wife for a moment. And Dustin uses this as an opportunity to recover and blindside the guy. So far, so good. That's when stupid happened. Because Dustin gets in the face of Mrs. Hager. And Mrs. Hager, she's talking to him, she's wagging her finger at him. And then she goes to punch Dustin. He blocks the punch, and this, up until this frame, I don't have a problem with this. This is okay. Someone attacks you, and you block the punch, and you don't retaliate. That's perfectly legitimate, it's honorable, it's chivalrous, it's something a babyface can get away with doing. And then this happens! That, ladies and gentlemen, is sexual assault. Dustin Rhodes, our hero, ladies and gentlemen, our Technico, forces himself upon upon a human being, upon a woman, upon another man's wife. Fuck you! You can see from her face, this is not a Val Venus ladies man, oh, she's really actually into it. No, this is non-consensual. This is non-consensual kissing. This is non-consensual leaving your face paint all over her face. This is a crime. This character should be in jail. If the next episode of AEW Dynamite doesn't involve the Inner Circle having Dustin arrested, then they've seriously lost the plot on this. Okay, I realize this is an old school, kiss the heel valet. It's an old school pop, but it was creepy then and it's criminal now. Hashtag Mrs. Hager 2. I know I don't want that to be an actual hashtag. Okay, in the end, heel turn achieved for Dustin Rhodes, in my opinion. And after low blows by both guys, thereby making it okay that the heel did it, Hager, who's now a babyface, defends his wife's honor, defends his family, and puts Dustin to sleep in a sleeper hold. Referee Aubrey Edwards, I think is her name. Did I say Audrey or Aubrey? I think it's Aubrey. Calls for the submission. There was no actual tap out, so I guess that's an out for the now heel Dustin Rhodes. And, oh god, I'm glad that's over. Alright, so we've had our mandatory clusterfuck for this episode. After the match, we get an announcement that AEW is bringing back War Games. Only they're not allowed to call it War Games, I think. That's going to be a lawsuit. Up next, it's Sammy Kabara versus Darby Allin, and there is nowhere to go but up from here, ladies and gentlemen. And now we're cooking! That was an incredible, incredible match. Darby Allin, before his name is said by the announcer, dives out of the ring through the ropes and clobbers Guevara. That was the start of about 5 minutes of mayhem on the outside because at no point were both men in the ring, so the match technically could not get started. Skateboards thrown at people's heads, people going through tables, 450s off the top through a table. It was amazing. Rider kicks out of nowhere. After the disaster that was the opening match, this was absolutely brilliant. This brought the crowd to their feet. It was great. One interesting plot point, we see Jurassic Express, team not appearing on this show, appearing on this show. They're actually sitting at ringside, and I don't really like that the announcers called attention to this and that the camera showed them directly a couple of times. I like more like this picture, where if you're paying attention, you can clearly see them, but it's not being shoved up your nostrils. The best thing about it was Marco Stunt, the little guy, going for trying to get the wrestler to give him a high five like he's an Overeager fan. When he does that, Jungle Boy grabs his arm and pulls it back down. Say, dude, act like a professional, would you? I don't know if that's what he said, but it's what he should have said. Brilliant character work there. Little details. Mwah, chef's kiss. In the end, a beautiful coffin drop by Darby Allin for the pin and the win. And they have got something. They've got something with this guy, with this Darby Allin guy. The fact that he's been silent lately is fantastic. I think this is a character who should rarely speak, and if he does, it should matter. I absolutely love everything about Darby Allin right now. The style's a bit reckless, but he's being smarter about it. He's not being stupid hardcore. He's not hard-wearing himself. There was no blood in this match. More of this, please! Before we move on, my inner tech geek would like to point out that everybody in the audience is wearing a white wristband with LED lights of multiple colors that seem to be timed to the music and the videos and the lights of the arena. And that is a really cool way to add a great visual effect to the show without being, without over-reliance on things like pyro and laser lights, but to actually make the fans part of the experience. I want to know how they're doing that. I'm thinking it's some kind of a Wi-Fi thing or a Bluetooth thing, but I'm not sure. Very, very cool. Up next, the tag team titles are on the line, and we get the tale of the tape. I love these kind of details. It's not exactly the sports-like presentation, but it's a good storytelling tool. It works. And I like the detail here that we see that actually the relative rookie tag team, or least experienced tag team of Omega and Page, have a win-loss record of 6-2 for a ratio of +4. Meanwhile, the so-called greatest tag team of all time, 7-5, a ratio of only +2. So, for all this talk about how the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world and therefore they should be the champions, the numbers say no, you're not. The only minor quibble I have about this is the last line, finisher, Meltzer driver, buckshot V-trigger. What does that mean? Now, I've been following this show. I know what the Meltzer driver is. I know what the buckshot lariat is. I know what the V-trigger is. I know what a buckshot V-trigger combination looks like. And presumably anyone watching the pay-per-view has also been watching the television show. But I wish there was a way to explain what that is. Maybe show some sort of a CGI demonstration of the move in that space below the tail of the tape, that sort of blank space below finisher. On either side, you could have little CGI wrestlers doing it to each other, or have video of it being done. That might be too small to see. I don't know. I'm probably overthinking this. Tag team title match time. Wow, that had more fake endings than the Lord of the Rings, didn't it? Okay, a lot of pros and a lot of cons here. That was a brilliant 15 to 20 minute match that took about 40 minutes to tell. Okay, the actual time of the match was a little over 30, but with entrances and aftermath and all of that, it was at least a 40-minute affair. Didn't need to be that long. Could have been done in half that time. Positives. If the idea was to make Hangman Page a top babyface, mission achieved. If the mission was to get people to boo the Young Bucks, because frankly, I think they're better as heels anyway, mission a fucking achieved. If the idea was to make Kenny Omega look like an afterthought, mission achieved. Well done. Okay. Good character work here. A lot of everybody acted the way you would expect that character to act, and when they acted out of character, for example, when one of the Young Bucks got really hyper-violent after admittedly getting spat in the face by Hangman Page, they reacted logically. It actually made a lot of sense. The problem is, there was about 4 or 5 excellent finishers here, or excellent match endings. Kenny Omega tries to do the Kataoka no Tenshi, the one-winged angel, can't get it done. Hangman Page tags in, hits the move himself. That should have been the 3. The Indie Taker Spike Pile Driver on the outside to make this a handicap match. That should have been the beginning of the end. It wasn't. There were at least 5 or 6 times this match could have ended. You could have told the exact same story, and we could have all gotten on with our lives. But in the end, an unbelievably anticlimactic buckshot lariat, single buckshot lariat by Hangman Adam Page, wins the match. And then something interesting happens. After the match, they try to do the big reunification of the Elite. Hangman Page still says, no, I am your tag team partner, I'm your co-champion, but I am not a member of the Elite, I'm stepping away from this, this is not happening. So, after all that, 30 effing minutes, really no progress. The characters didn't progress. Nobody is any different now than they were when the match started, and that sucks. Because while many, many, many things in this match were incredible, absolutely positive, in the end, none of them mattered. Nobody comes out of this anything different than when they went in, except hurt. Because the Bucks, while they wrestled as heels, they go for the handshake first. They go for the reconciliation first. That means they're good guys. Hey, it was all in the spirit of competition. No, you were being assholes. Don't be assholes. Hangman Page learned nothing about teamwork in this teamwork match. This was, in the end, a bad case of AEW over self-indulgent. This match was masturbatory at times, and I've talked way too long about it. I've almost committed the exact same sin. We move on now to the Women's Championship match. Nyla Rose making her first title defense against Chris Statlander, the alien from the Andromeda Galaxy. I love wrestling. Before we get to the match, take a look at these entrances. Very, very nice on both counts. I love these. Chikara Gen 1 original Mr. Bryce Remsburg has the call for this championship match, and it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. I think the AEW women's division gets a lot of flack for not being very good, for having a lot of green wrestlers, and okay, yes, they do, when you're advertising Statlander's 3 years as a pro as a positive. However, I don't think they're portraying Nyla Rose correctly. Someone like Nyla Rose, she has got to be an unstoppable force of nature. She has to be, as advertised, a native beast. I think Statlander got way too much offense in. If you want to give Statlander something to hang her hat on, then give her credit for innovative escapes. Give her credit for, getting out of the way, essentially, whenever she has to. A good example, right here. Now, on the surface, this looks really effing stupid. And it is. But this was an innovative escape. Chris Statlander, right before this, was draped over the top rope. Nyla's ready for her flying knee off of the top turnbuckle. And Statlander is able to shift her weight to get to the handstand position. Unfortunately, instead of quickly rolling out of it or, teetering forward a bit and then rolling through, she held this for way too long and made Nyla look like an idiot for not immediately jumping down off the turnbuckle and kicking her in the head. In the end, Nyla hits a avalanche beast bomb in order to pick up the pin and the win and retain the AEW Women's Championship. Good match, but I'm not sure what the long-term goal here was. If you're trying to protect Statlander because you have long-term plans for her, okay, I guess. I think you could have done that better. But Nyla's your champion. Nyla's going to be your major figure going forward for multiple reasons. she should have looked a lot more dominant in this match. Outthought, out-tricked occasionally, but never outpowered, never out-wrestled, and she kind of was a few times here. Unfortunate. But at least the right woman won. Up next, it's grudge match time. After one of the best booked feuds in AEW history, finally, we're going to see Cody Rhodes get his hands on MJF. And once again, the tale of the tape doesn't tell the full story. Crossroads, double cross, and the under finisher, those are the same move. Someone should point that out. We get a good video package recapping the story that got us here. And again, this is one of the best things AEW has done. I'm still a little worried that it always seems to be Cody who gets the good stuff, but I'm looking forward to this match. I'm genuinely excited about this. And I was right to be! Okay, we start off with a live concert of Cody Rhodes' entrance theme, and for all the people who hated the Flo Rida concerts at WrestleMania, this is how you do live music in wrestling. Live entrances. And it was fantastic. Cody Rhodes' theme is one of my favorite themes in wrestling right now, so getting the live version, I actually really enjoyed that. As for the match itself, there was a lot squeezed into this. Unlike the tag team title match earlier, it didn't really feel like this wore out its welcome, at least not as much for me, but this was overbooked. There was a whole lot going on here. But the crowd really behind Cody, F him up, Cody, F him up, and as soon as MJF ducks into the crowd, coward, coward chant starts up. I love that. I love when the fans get into it and get creative with the chanting. MJF throwing a beer in a fan's face, dangerous. You could actually get sued for that, and you've got a billionaire running your company, or at least funding your company, so you've got deep pockets and people know it. Careful with that in the future, but I think it worked in this case. The fan either was a plant or was happy to be part of the show. The big story of the match was that Cody dealing with a broken toe on his right foot from the cage match, though I imagine that was probably self-inflicted from that moonsault off the top of the cage. But, well-told story, the boot, Cody losing his boot thanks to MJF biting on the toe, exploiting that weakness. A lot of shenanigans on the outside that probably shouldn't have happened. Brandy needs to pick her spots, and by pick her spots, I mean once or twice a decade. The shot of her attempting a diving crossbody, getting caught by Wardlow. This gets Cody involved, and he winds up kicking Arn Anderson in the head. That was a silly sequence that didn't need to have happened. I realize Brandy is a character that, for various reasons, at least it appears to be, we need to get her involved, but there were better ways to do that. Having her get involved with Wardlow was not one of them. Although, to be fair, if Wardlow had, hit another man's wife, then that would have been okay, because that's what babyfaces do in AEW. Yeah, I'm still pissed off about that Dustin thing earlier. In the end, a good war of attrition. Like the tag team match, it could have ended a couple of different ways a bit earlier, but instead of being 15 minutes too long, it was maybe 5 minutes too long. But in the end, I think, and some people are going to disagree with this, and I welcome your hatred in the comments, the right person won. The Dynamite Diamond to the face, brass knuckle, and MJF picks up the win, and for the egotistical heel, this is what he needs. He now has undisputed bragging rights over one of the top guys in the company. And where we go from here with Cody, and this is what didn't happen in the tag team match that I like. We have character progression. MJF, if possible, has a bigger ego now than he did before this match. Cody has self-doubt. Cody, the son of a plumber, the founder of the company, the executive vice president of whatever the hell, he has now lost 2 major matches. He's lost a match for the AEW title that he can never challenge for it again. He's lost a match that he took a whipping and won a cage match just to get, and he couldn't get it done on the night. Now, does he recover, or does he break? That I am looking forward to. And now it's time for our palate cleanser of the evening. I'd actually forgotten this match was happening, and it's got one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Pac and freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, who don't deserve a tail of the tape, because this is, I think, supposed to be the popcorn match. which, considering we've got about an hour left in the show, oh boy. He tried and it was good! Okay, everybody's gonna hate me on this, but best match of the night so far. Okay. Everybody in the ring, everybody in the crowd, everybody who was not the two old guys on commentary got this act. The mimetic badass that is freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. First of all, this got the biggest boo of the night so far. The denial of the hands in the pockets. Blasphemy! Blasphemy of the highest order from the Geordie bastard. The fans chanting, "This is awesome, holy shit, fight forever, freshly squeezed, no pulp, etc., etc." It was fantastic. Orange Cassidy finally getting a chance to show what I've known for years he is capable of. And again, everybody who is not named JR or Tony Schiavone got what was going on here. I think they were both trying to... Either they legitimately didn't get it, or they were both trying to play straight man. Excalibur, he knew what was going on. Oh, and by the way, Excalibur, on the 0% chance you're listening to this, you kind of gave it away there at the end, didn't you? Excalibur making a comment that really gave away the true identity of freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, but I'm not going to repeat that here on this platform. In the end, unfortunately, shenanigans happened, because out came the Lucha Brothers to go after the best friends who were at ringside with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. This was enough of a distraction for the bastard Pac to lock on the Brutalizer and pick up the win, in probably the biggest win of Pac's career, I'll be honest. Up next, main event time for the AEW World's Heavyweight Championship. It is Moxley versus Jericho, the Death Rider versus the Painmaker. Match begins with a really cool entrance shot following Moxley from the street to the arena. I absolutely love that. But Jericho gets a live choir singing his entrance theme, and this is the first chance I got to really actually make out all of the words. So whoever these ladies are, good job. You guys stole the show tonight. Now this match. Lot of smoke and mirrors here. A lot of walking and brawling, a lot of hardcore stuff, a lot of blood from Moxley. All of the inner circle, except for Sammy Kabara for some... Well, actually, no, because he lost his match earlier, that's why. The Proud and Powerful were out there from the beginning. Hager came out a little bit later. Jericho, throughout the entire match, was trying to get the referee to disqualify him, including actually shoving the referee, and she responded by basically saying, "Screw you, I am not disqualifying you, because I know that means you keep the belt." Moxley, the eye was the focal point of a good chunk of the match. A couple of good hope spots, a couple of good counters to the walls of Jericho. Moxley actually locking on a Walls of Jericho Boston Crab of his own. That would have been a cool way to end the match, but they didn't. Moxley fighting from underneath the entire time, looking like an unstoppable badass. And then something that I hope gets explained. Because right before the end of the match, right before the finish, Moxley, who's been bleeding from the eye, from like a cut above the eye, I'm pretty sure that was a blade job, don't think that was a hard way, he takes off the eye patch and reveals he can see everything. So, question, is this a recent healing? Has he recently recovered? Did Minoru Suzuki knock his eye back into sync? Has he been faking the eye thing the whole time? I would like an explanation for that, please. Hopefully we'll get that on Dynamite. But right at the finish, ladies and gentlemen, your winner, and the new AEW World's Champion, Moxley! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jon Moxley, the new champion. The music plays, he gets on the microphone, cuts a clearly improvised speech. basically saying this belt does not belong to me, it belongs to each and every one of you. You are the fuel that keeps AEW going. You are the reason AEW and Jon Moxley have kept going over this past year. Everything has been for you. Everything has been because of you. Thank you very much. Actually, he never actually said thank you. He said, it's beer o'clock. The music plays. He wasn't done. So, hey, what the fuck? Actually drops the F-bomb. Hey, we're on pay-per-view. You can get away with it. I hope. I hope. And basically says, okay, I'm a fighting champion. Line him up. I'll knock him down. But for right now, time to knock back some whiskey. And he leaves with his belt through the crowd, undefeated, 12-0-1 AEW heavyweight champion of the world. Final thoughts? Very good show. More positive than negative. Unfortunately, while the highs were high, the lows were very, very, very low. AEW, I've said it before, I'll say it again, has all the tools to be the best thing in wrestling, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot. They keep overbooking matches. They keep not quite realizing where things should be on the card as a whole. That the tag team title match is like the third match of the night, doesn't need to be a 30-minute show stealer. It's not going to. That's not going to happen. You don't need to have your opening match include sexual assault, just as a tip. But what was really good about the match was what should have, about the show, was what should have been. The main event for the title, the big grudge match, and surprisingly, the Orange Cassidy bout were really, really fantastic. Nyla Rose, book her to be the unstoppable machine. That's what she has to be. Especially, quite frankly, at her point in her career, she is relatively green. It'll be a lot easier if you just book her as an unstoppable monster. From a technical and production standpoint, this show was top-notch. Didn't hear any audio problems. That was great. The camera work was very, very good. I love the thing with the light-up bracelets, turning the entire crowd into a light board. That was really good. Do this. Keep this up. I love it. I have no idea what the money is involved here, but it worked. Do it if you can. The show clocked in at about 3.5 hours. I think you could have gotten that down to an even 3 if the tag team title match had been half as long, if Nyla had been booked in almost a Goldberg-esque manner, and, maybe just save a few minutes and not do the criminal sexual assault of someone else's wife. So while a few matches overstayed their welcome, the show itself did not, so credit where due. Final grade for AEW Revolution 2020 is B+. A little too overbooked, a little too cute by half in spots to get anything in the A range. It was over 3 hours, but most of that 3 hours was good, but there was some stuff that was just unacceptably bad as well. AEW, you've gotten better. You've fixed a lot of your mistakes. You've shown that you're willing to improve. Keep at it. Thank you for listening to The Last Wrestling Podcast, if indeed you still are. Like, share, subscribe, enable notifications, leave a comment. I will respond to absolutely everything because I'm kind of pathetic that way. Next week, I have no idea what we're doing for Last Wrestling Podcast, but up next on Chikara no Rekshi, we are going to continue Anniversario 2019. Over in the Animated Wrestling League, we are beginning our build to our next Supercard event, Sakura Mania Wrestle Genesis, this spring. So stay tuned for everything here on the channel. Thank you for listening. Catchphrase sign off.